Ooh, I am going to use a microphone this time. Good evening, everybody. Oh, man, that makes me so happy. Good evening, women folks now. Thank God, thank the association. It was up this week. Please remember, here's about any time after now. You can have a wonderful job. Oh. Okay, let's get together. Good evening. Welcome to Young Israel Shomrai Emunah of Greater Washington's annual banquet. Tonight, we are gathered here to honor two wonderful families that dedicated themselves to our shul, our community, and our future. We're also honoring the young men and women who have given so selflessly of themselves every Shabbat. Many thanks go out to the entire banquet committee, especially the co-chairs, Tiana Mainzer and Bob Levy. Tonight has been a beautiful occasion to celebrate our shul. Please make sure that you guys are able to enjoy yourselves too. It's hard to overstate the impact that Judy and Stuart Rosenthal have had on our shul. How many of us have benefited from their meaningful tefillah project over the years? How many of us enjoyed a beautiful Kiddush Shabbos morning because they helped create the Hamish Kiddush group? I'd like to personally offer my many thanks to the Rosenthals for being greeters on Shabbos. It's a big responsibility. And not only that, they took over the program of ensuring we have enough people every single week out there. It's a Herculean task. They make it look easy and they do it with a smile. Thank you so much. And like the Rosenthals, it's hard to imagine YISE without the constant presence and dedication of Sara and Josh. The Katz family has been instrumental in Shomrai's success for decades. Josh and Sara provide countless hours of service not only to our shul, but also in support of our entire community. I was honored to relieve Josh of Gabba at the 8 o'clock minyan. I was even more honored when he took it back. And if you want to come back to the main minyan, you're always welcome.
I just retired. I'm enjoying it.
It's not my problem. The Katzes are also responsible helping lead the effort to feed the kosher community during COVID. I know looking around the room, their work with Yad Yehuda and Shalom Kosher was directly responsible for feeding not only my children, but thousands of others. I can't begin to imagine the logistics of the meals and those boxes week after week. And every time we saw you, you had a big smile. And so thank you so much for that. To all of our youth honorees, our youths, for those of you who may understand that. Thank you for providing excellent Shabbos groups for our children. Thank you for laning so beautifully like we had this past Shabbos. Thank you for helping set up and clean up door-to-door learning. You were there last night. We had a great time. Thank you for being Gaboim of the Team Minyan. Thank you for setting a wonderful example for all of the children of our shul to look up to. It's my pleasure to introduce our Mora Asra, my Rabbi Rabbi Rosenbaum, to provide the victim.
Thank you very much, Craig, for bringing your wonderful personality to another shul event. Thank you very much. That wasn't the joke. So wonderful to see everyone here. I want to specifically welcome the rabbis. Welcome Rabbi Weinberg from KMS, Rabbi Merkin and Rabbi Hess from the Yeshiva, Rabbi Staffs from Greater Washington Community Kollel. We benefit so much from each of your institutions' partnerships, and thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. We're reading in these parshios of the building of the Mishkan, of the instructions of the Mishkan, of the actual building of the parts of the Mishkan. And it's a beautiful time to celebrate a shul. Think about the Mishkan. The Mishkan required donations across the board of Klal Yisrael. The Mishkan required skilled efforts across the board of Klal Yisrael. And it's like that for a shul. I was thinking of a very simple mashal, which probably is not exactly accurate, but just to reflect on for a moment. Imagine if there was a person who was skilled in working with gold. Imagine if there was a person who was skilled with providing different colored dyes. Imagine if there was a person who was skilled with shaping different metals. Each of those, imagine if for whatever reason, the person who was supposed to do this work in the Mishkan didn't step forward. What would have happened? Again, I'm not sure this is a perfect mashal, but just think about the image for a moment. Think about that beautiful Mishkan, and one of the boards is not fully correct. And part of the color and the tapestry of the Mishkan is slightly off. And so on and so forth. It's a fascinating exercise to think about when looking at a shul. And I'm sure this is going to be a regularly repeated point throughout the evening, but for good reason. Could you imagine our shul after the 8:45 and 9:15 minyanim without having a kiddush every Shabbos? If it wasn't for Judy and Stuart Rosenthal, that probably would be the case. To imagine how many people in this room benefit from the beautiful Simchas Torah Women's Learning Program, Simchas Torah Morning. We didn't always have that. It's thanks to Judy Rosenthal. How many of us in this room have benefited from the Meaningful Tefillah initiative? It's been 8 years we've been having these programs. It's become a regular thing in the shul. It's thanks to Stuart. Our shul would look so different if it wasn't for them. Thank God, as we've begun to move forward through COVID, we've had a whole new range of social committee activities. That's very much thanks to many people, but certainly Sara Katz as co-chair of the social committee. The point has already been made that Josh Katz has served as gabbai all kinds of times in all kinds of minyanim. But I want to mention the most recent time. We were trying to start things up in a more regular way in the Shabbos morning minyanim. We needed people to stand. If you remember from a certain period of COVID, there were different minyanim at different times and shifts. We needed to get to a point where there were set gaboyim for the 9:15 minyan. Somehow, some way, it ended up being my job to make those calls. And I had the chutzpah to call Josh Katz to act into serve as a gabbai again. He did it. As he's done so many things before, as he continues to do for the shul, as they both continue to do for the shul. Josh, I want to give you one of, I think, the greatest possible compliments that can be uttered in this building, which is, it's obvious that you grew up in the home of Marc and Debbie Katz. And Sara. When we think about this idea of how different our shul would look if it wasn't for the Rosenthals and if it wasn't for the Katzes, hopefully we're all a little bit inspired. What can we do? And for many of us, the natural answer is, of course, nothing. That's how we think. It's a very interesting Ramban. The Ramban reflects how did the artisans involved with the Mishkan, how did they have all these abilities? Where did they get these abilities from? They were slaves in Egypt. So one possibility that the Ramban says is it could be, who knows what their tasks were in Egypt? Maybe some people had to do this within their slave labor. But another possibility that the Ramban raises is they just wanted to serve Hashem. And since they just wanted to serve Hashem, they didn't have past abilities. But God gave them these abilities. My guess is, when our honorees think about their own experiences, we've only listed small numbers. Their own experiences, their own contributions to the shul. Some of those things are probably things they thought that they wouldn't be good at. But they felt they needed to be done. So they tried. And we all benefit from it. I want to specifically reflect for a moment on our youth honorees. It's always worthwhile and wonderful to recognize our youth honorees. But this year more than most. You know what Shabbos groups were like during the height of COVID? Yes mask, no mask, inside, outside. You know how important it was once things began to become more normal for us to really put forward strong Shabbos groups? Without the youth leaders, some of whom are represented tonight, we wouldn't have had Shabbos groups. During the height of COVID, we didn't have a youth minyan. And then we needed to formally build up the youth minyan again. There were young men who had done various things over the years and had continued in various minyanim to do things. But in a sense, we were starting over from scratch, in a sense. And the individuals who we're honoring tonight as the gaboim of the youth minyan created a youth minyan for us. And now, with God's help, there's another group coming behind them. Our youth, again, many years, but particularly this year, as Craig already mentioned, wander into a minyan, an adult minyan. You might hear one of our honorees laying. Go into the back room at Door Lador and you'll see one of our honorees doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So every year we should thank the youth honorees, but this year particularly. Without you, our Mishkan wouldn't look the same. So Mazel Tov, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to celebrate such special people. May we all together as a shul and as a community go from strength to strength. And may we all continue to have the opportunity to contribute to community and to benefit from each other's great accomplishments. Mazel Tov.
Now, my pleasure. First of all, thank you, Rabbi, for the beautiful I have to read my speech. Please welcome Rabbi Holzer and Leah to present the Youth Honoree Award.
Thank you all for coming and honoring our honorees. So one of the really special ways that Shomrai caters to families is by having a teen minyan. And I don't know if everyone here knows exactly what happens by the teen minyan, but at the teen minyan, the teens go from being bystanders, they come to shul, they see things done, and they transform into people that run an entire minyan from A to Z. They start Sukkot Zimra, they do all the laning, all the davening, all the kabbalas, everything is done by the teens, 100%. And it's obvious that they're developing a plethora of skills as they're doing that, and they're becoming integral parts of YISE. You know, they're invested in a shul, and they're invested in what they're doing in a shul. And if you need any proof to understand what the leadership you gain in a teen minyan is, many years ago, not so many years ago, Rabbi Rosenbaum himself was a gabbai and a leader in a teen minyan here in Shomrai, and look what happened.
We didn't have youth honorees when I was a gabbai.
So this is your turn, Rabbi Rosenbaum. No pressure, guys, really. So I really just wanted to highlight some of the very special things about our honorees. I was struck by a thought this past week. Parshas Truma, the word Truma means a donation, something that someone gives, but the shorish of the word Truma seems to come from the word Ram. Romemos, the harim, to raise up. I think that the connection is obvious. When someone gives of themselves, naturally, an act of giving is in and of itself an act of development, an act of becoming someone bigger. That's just what happens. And I think that we see that these honorees, they've really given and they've really developed over the years. So first, I'd like to call up Yosef Drang. Really, this is really partially special to Yosef, that I'm very, very lucky. I'm supposed to run the teen minyan, and I do not do a lot. I come in, and these guys have everything worked out. And probably the person that exemplifies that the most is Yosef. Yosef is an excellent Baal Tefillah, an excellent Baal Koreh, but above all, he's an excellent leader. He runs that minyan like a well-oiled machine. I'm like, you know, the most amazing thing, not only does he have everything worked out, he could be in the middle of davening and doing Chazar Sashatz, and he's like motioning to guys what they're doing next and who's got shlishi. Like, he's got everything and he doesn't miss a beat. It just goes straight. And you know, I think it's something that he was able to develop here, and it's something that is going to take him very far in life. So Yosef, thank you for all of your help and all of your dedication, and we expect great things from you. Rafi Moses. Many people probably know Rafi as an excellent Baal Koreh because Rafi lanes throughout the show. Many times we can't have Rafi because we have to share him with the 9:15 Minyan or somewhere else. Honestly, there have been times that it's like Friday afternoon or Shabbos morning, and we're like, oh, Rafi, there was a little mistake with like the things. Can you cover like 6 Leos or something? And somehow Rafi's got it all covered. It's pretty amazing. He's not going to appreciate me saying this. I'm pretty sure he knows like half the Torah by heart. But Rafi is really, really a very, very special person. And 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to Rafi, and I was talking to Rafi about, different things. And Rafi mentioned to me that the reason he still davens at the Teen Minyan is because of the Hakaras HaTov that he has for all that it did for him. And I thought that speaks so much, speaks volumes about who Rafi is and what it's been for him. Ravin. So Zev, you are an excellent Balkari, an excellent Balfilo, but Zev has a very special role above those. Zev is the coordinator of the Minyan. So every week we have to figure out who's going to lane what and which of the younger kids are we going to integrate into laning and how many psukim each Leah has and what they can do. And Zev is on top of this. As I said, they take care of everything. It's amazing. Zev is cheshboning out who needs what aliyah, who can handle what. Well, in 2 weeks he can have this one because we'll give him more time to prepare. He's got everything worked out. And I was been exceptionally impressed with your sensitivity for giving responsibility, and at the same time being compassionate, building people up in the way that's good for them. And I think it's something that really is going to take you far in life. So thank you, Zev. Right, so thank you all for honoring these honorees. They're very special people. And I just want to give a very quick shout out to the families, the Drangs, the Moseses, and the Ravins. You obviously have a lot to be proud of. And as a show, I think we can all say we're proud to be a part of contributing to this, but very, very special boys you have. So thank you.
I have been working as the interim youth group coordinator. In other words, I have been going from group to group to group to make sure everything in its place, and I've gotten a chance to take over from S.C. Thurman, who did an outstanding job. So I'm just a little new, but I want to tell you how important these kids are to our shul. One of the hidden secrets of the success and growth of our Silver Spring community is our frequent ability to grow our own future leaders. In fact, I met Rabbi Rosenbaum when he was 13 years old. He used to come and daven over at Little Shomrai. He would lane for us. So Shomrai now has a group of over 20 teens that are participating in our youth group leadership program. They are so cool that we even have a group of young children that have requested to design their own LIT, Leaders in Training sweatshirts. They're so attached to the idea, they have been planning the colors, they've got the typeface design, and this can only be because of the maturity, the friendliness, and the enthusiasm of our current youth leaders. Shomrai can be very, very, very proud of our teens. Tonight, our youth department wants to express a special hakarat tov and recognize our graduating senior group. And I'd like to call them up in no particular order. Shayna Towler, Shayna has worked with various age groups and has played an essential role in our new rising 5th and 6th grade girls group. She's always welcoming, flexible, and inviting to our very lively pre-bat mitzvah crowd. Thank you so much. Devorah Hershenson and Leora Goldfeiz. Devorah and Leora are the best group leaders you could ever have asked for. The 6 to 9-year-old girls come early Shabbos morning, arriving at shul, waiting for them eagerly in the lobby. They're cheering, Devorah and Leora, Devorah and Leora. Really, who doesn't like group leaders with rhyming names? Thank you so very much. Thank you. Our boys' senior leader, Ellie Shimoff, rises to the task whenever there is a need. Ellie? Ellie is extremely reliable. He is very easy to work with, and he's volunteered to train our new group of boy leaders. He's an especially welcome participant and major support of our door-to-door program. We want to thank you very much. The Shomrai Youth Group would like to wish all of our leaders a bracha and hatzlacha in their future efforts. We only hope that our leaders in training will grow up to fill their shoes. Thank you from the Young Israel Shomrai Emunah Youth Committee and all of our community.
And a very special thank you to Leah for taking over the youth. So now, you ready?
I'm not enough to drink.
Well, then we'll give you another minute. If I'd like to introduce the president of our shul, Yale Ginsburg. No, what's that? Marc Katz. That's not what they told me. For those who get the cards, you know what they're doing. So I'd like to introduce Marc Katz, introduce Jocelyn, Sara, and John.
A little confusion that was there. That's not going to be a plug for me to come back and be president for a third time. So that's not going to work. A little bit of housekeeping. I had a bad cold a couple of weeks ago, and I have a cough. So the reason why I'm mentioning this to you is a lot of times nowadays, in the days of COVID, if someone starts coughing, everyone starts breaking out their masks. I've been COVID negative, and my doctor said it'll probably take another couple of weeks for it to go away. So I did have some Glen, whatever. There's some Glen scotch downstairs that seemed to have taken care of it. But if I start coughing, I'll have a lollipop here. It'll help as well. So I want to say mazel tov to Josh and Sara. We're extremely proud of you. My family is gathered today to celebrate. Steve and Linda Katz, Sara's parents, are here from Florida. My sister Andrea Katzman is here from Atlanta. Benji came from St. Louis. Rafi from New York. And Ezra Nakama came from Baltimore. Long ride. The shul community has always been an extension of our family. Over the years, all 4 of our boys have come to understand this, and we're privy to many conversations that Debbie and I had about challenges in the community. Josh himself has taken on a leadership position in our shul and the greater community. As was mentioned by Craig earlier, Josh was the coordinator of the USDA food program during COVID, along with Shalom Kosher, and they gave tens of thousands of meals out during that period of time. Josh, as was mentioned, he's been Gabbai 8 o'clock Minyan, main Minyan, 9:15 Minyan, He's got to get him to be Gabbai. It's coming at some point, but we're working on it. And so he's been Gabbai. Josh also does Hesed. When something needs to be done in the community, Josh is the one who will step to the plate to get it done. Josh is understated. He's humble, smart, honest, compassionate, funny, and tremendously loyal. Whenever he sees a need, he'll step to the plate and get it done. He's a wonderful son, husband, father. All of Josh's brothers look up to Josh. He's the leader in our family. He's created close relationships with his cousins, his nephews, and his nieces. He treats his employees at Ben Yehuda as he would want any one of his own family to be treated. In fact, that's how Josh treats everybody. I've been working together with Josh for the past 10 years. Josh, obviously, as you all know, he owns Ben Yehuda Cafe and Pizzeria. I'm his bookkeeper. I have to say, I would have wished that one of my sons would have become a veterinarian, and I would have been able to work with him in that capacity. But as a bookkeeper, Josh and I, we have a great relationship, and we work very well together. And he's my boss, so I've got to really, be nice to him and be good to him. Sara is a fantastic wife, mother, sister, daughter, and daughter-in-law. Very loving, smart, efficient, and organized. She is fully dedicated to everything she undertakes. Aside from being an excellent teacher at the Young Israel Preschool, she's also, as mentioned earlier today, she's co-chair of the social committee. Sarah's the one that holds down the fort when Josh spends 24/7 as a restaurant entrepreneur and also with his numerous Hesed that he does in the community. That's no small contribution in itself. Sara and Josh are a great team. Debbie and I have always received wonderful reports about Josh and Sara from all corners of our community. We shep nachas about this every day. We're humbled by the breadth of their accomplishments. It's a special zechus to be present when our children are being honored as outstanding members of the community we love so much. Can Josh and Sara come up here, please? The gift is a glass Seder plate, Kiddush cup, and matzah tray designed by Lily Art. We forgot your lollipop. And I guess you'll be keeping that paycheck. Thank you. Thank you guys very much for coming. I was told we had about 1 to 2 minutes to speak. So last I timed it, it was 94 seconds. So I'm going to try to keep that. First off, we are truly, truly humbled to be recognized at the same time, honoring the Rosenthals. And it's been mentioned, they're truly pillars, not just for Shomrai, but for the community at large. I saw on my caller ID a couple days ago a phone call coming from Stuart, and I was like, oh, it's probably Banquet related, but no, it's something about Berman Hebrew Academy, something that I didn't even know he was involved with. So their dedication to the community is truly inspiring. Thank you very much. Additionally, there's just so many leaders in this community, in this room, that we're just humbled to be standing in front of. It's really, truly a lovely community. So thank you for that. Yesterday's Torah reading, as Rabbi Rosenbaum stated, started by discussing all the different materials that were required to build the Mishkan. Those materials were donated voluntarily, and they ranged everywhere from gold to humble wood. And everybody gave within their means, bringing the materials that they had that were accessible to them. We're not here tonight to celebrate any of us as individuals, but in truth, we're here to celebrate the community as a whole. Like the Jews giving to the Mishkan in the desert, we keep the shul and the greater community going. Each of us giving what's within our means. For some of us, that means contributing monetarily to fund the many programs and services that the shul offers. For others, that means donating time to run events, Minyanim, the all-important Kiddush, and donating a slice of pizza here or there too. And for many people, it's just simply showing up. It takes a village, and we are truly honored to be a part of this village. We thank you all for being here, not just tonight, but every day, showing up, giving your support, to each of you for doing your part to contribute to the community, to the continued growth of the community. We want to thank Rabbi Rosenbaum for always being available and guiding us through both the good and the bad. and especially for the last-minute approval right before our show. And Gabe too, Craig too, thank you. And to Rabbi Postelnik for the endless amount of energy, warmth, and inspiration that you brought since coming. We'd like to thank our siblings for coming from both near and far. And also for your always continued support, for your ability. We could call you at any time and get straightforward answers and support, and we appreciate that. We are especially grateful to our parents, each one having contributed to their own communities in a variety of ways that are way too normally for me to list in 94 seconds. We are truly proud of being your children and for following your footsteps. Finally, we want to thank the Shul for considering us young enough to receive the honor. Thank you very much.
Oh, what's your stuff? We got it all under control. Jeremy. For baseball fans.
First, I just want to say to the youth honorees, it may be true that Rabbi Rosenbaum was previously a Gabbai, but so was I. So the Rosenthals, huh? Squeeze both my mom and dad in, but not me. Youth Gabbai, 4 straight years. Sun-kissed collector extraordinaire. Let me tell you, as a child, my knees provided the best cleaning this team has ever had. But we're not here to reopen old wounds or to talk about me. I'm here on behalf of both myself and my sister, Tova, to talk about our parents, or Judy and Stuart, as you all know them. Longtime main Minyan attendees, participants on many a shul committee, and of course, part of Barbara Price's frozen cookie and challah buying club run out of the shul kitchen. But it's going above and beyond in so many ways that we gather has landed our parents in their well-deserved seats of honor. From their involvement in picking the new assistant rabbi, yes, I know he looks young, but they promised me he has smicha, to the gracious hospitality they've extended to so many members of the community, young and old. Our parents have given a tremendous amount of time and energy to the shul. Our parents are lifelong learners on a quest for self-improvement, so it's no surprise that they've channeled these traits into educational and thought-provoking programming for the shul and the broader community. From our mom's parenting classes and women's learning initiatives, to our dad's learning groups and the Meaningful Tefillah project. But the mark of an amazing show is one in which every person contributes in their own way based on his or her own talents, as with B'nai Yisrael building the Mishkan. Everyone wants to be mom, check out our And so, I mean, take a look at them. It's obvious they were built for shul security. Now, I'm not saying they're not capable and fit for their ages. I'm just saying a few more of you may want to attend these meaningful tefillah sessions if you can. My wife, Sam, and I have just begun our own journey as parents, and it's given me I didn't time it, but it wasn't 94 seconds to begin with. Okay, it's given me a new lens. Just how wonderful my parents are as role models in that regard as well. I'm gonna skip the rest of the paragraph.
Come by enough.
Yeah. He cried up here in my bar mitzvah speech, and I'm still embarrassed, so. The shul community, too, has meant so much to our parents since they first moved to Canada, and they made it a priority to not only take part in the community, but to actively work to strengthen it and maintain the warmth that drew them in. Our parents are quick to notice new faces at the shul and invite them over for Shabbat meals. And when they noticed shul kiddush was lacking in energy, they turned their attention to revitalizing it as a way to bring people together and bolster a connection and community within the shul. It's amazing to us that, despite the fact that our parents put so much time and energy into their family and newspaper, whenever possible, they drop everything to be there for others in their happiest and their most painful moments, attending every wedding, funeral, Sheva Brachot, and Shiva they can. even if it means driving out several hours. Mom and Dad, you've been incredible role models to us. Personally, I've refused all requests made of me to join the Shul committee. I kid. It's wonderful someone is willing to do it. And let's be honest, the reason so many of us are here to acknowledge, we're glad it's not us. Yet, let's recognize it's not because you two like bureaucracy or late night meetings that you do what you do for the show. It's because you really care. You both contributed so much to this wonderful community. It's about time a member of the Rosenthal clan is honored here. We love you and are so happy for you both. Mazel tov.
Okay, Yale, try to follow that.
Something about not following animal acts and children. Marc Katz is supposed to be up here to make a presentation, but he needs a bit more Glenlivet for his cough. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Yale.
My name is Yale Ginsburg. I am the current president of Young Israel Shomrai Emunah. At least for the next 94 days and approximately 4 hours, but who is counting? I was told I cannot speak for more than 30 minutes, so I'll try to keep my remarks brief. I have the honor of making a presentation to Judy and Stuart Rosenthal. If you know the Rosenthals or had the opportunity to read the many ads placed in their name or paid attention to Jeremy's comments, you hopefully have a feel for the many things that the Rosenthals have done and continue to do for our community and specifically for our show. The Meaningful Tefillah Project, Simchas Torah Women's Learning Program, Shabbos Greeters Program, founder of the Hamish Kiddush, just to name a few. But I want to make this all about me. So, Stuart has chaired the nominating committee for the show as far back as I can remember. He nominated me to be president, which shows that he's not perfect. And he also found and convinced to serve the board members that I've worked with over the past 3 years. Having dedicated board members during COVID is what has allowed our show to survive and continue to thrive. Judy was a member of the search committee for our assistant rabbi. She played a critical role in our hiring Rabbi Pastelnik, who has been a wonderful addition to our show. Rabbi Pastelnik and Rabbi Rosenbaum were instrumental in keeping our show up and running during COVID and in allowing us to continue to thrive. So thank you, Judy and Stuart, for what you have done and hopefully will continue to do for our community and for our show, and Mazel Tov on this well-deserved honor. I'm happy to present you with a metal Havdalah set and Shabbos candle holders designed by Yair Emanuel. I have one part of the gift. There are several parts. I'm not going to bring them all up. So come up, please.
Okay, apologies for my nervousness. Thank you, Yale, and thank you everyone for all your kind words to us and about us this evening. Congratulations to all the youth honorees and Josh and Sara. In every interaction we've ever had with you, we are impressed how gracious and generous both of you are and how you don't take yourselves too seriously. The apple and tree thing has been thoroughly covered, so I won't go into that here. Jeremy, thank you for your words about us. We love you, we love Tova and your spouses, and we are certain we don't deserve the credit for you.
One of my favorite expressions has always been, coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. There are so many occasions in life when either at the time or after the fact, I can say, thank you, Hashem, I see your hand at work here. In that vein, if it hadn't been raining very hard on our very first Shabbos here in Camp Mill in 1997, another individual or couple probably one much more deserving, would be standing here tonight.
You see, when we moved to Kent Mill nearly 26 years ago, we didn't expect to be attending Shomrai Emunah regularly, despite our proximity to the shul and the fact that Stuart had briefly lived here and attended Shomrai during a college internship in DC. We actually had already joined and considered ourselves committed to a different but also lovely shul in the neighborhood that was a longer but still reasonable walk from our home. By the way, we maintained that membership and we thank Rabbi Weinberg for honoring us with his presence tonight. But Hashem had other plans, and thus the rainstorm. We decided to check out the closer shul, Shomrai, at least for that first Shabbos morning. To our surprise, the davening was so Hamish, and people we had never met of all ages were so warm and welcoming, asking us if we were new to the neighborhood and did we have a place for a meal, playing Jewish geography and such, that we found ourselves returning Shabbos after Shabbos. If you don't think it matters how we all greet newcomers, just think about that butterfly effect moment, how the reception we got that first Shabbos ultimately brought us back here for decades.
And while we never would have expected to be up here on the Bimah as honorees, we did always consider Shomrai our home away from home. And so naturally, we wanted to pitch in and help whenever we could. In fact, one of the things we liked most about Shomrai was how actively involved so many members were. Now, of course, active involvement might be a euphemism for complaining a lot or being critical of things, but the great thing about Shomrai to me is that if one has a complaint or an idea of something that could be made better, you may well find yourself on a committee, from a committee of one, to make a difference and make that change happen. That's exactly what happened with the Hamish Kiddush. Judy and I noticed after a few years here that the 845 Minyan was the only Minyan that didn't have its own Kiddush every week. It only had a Kiddush from the whole shul-sponsored Kiddush. And we thought every Minyan deserves its own chance for schmoozing and getting to know each other and building social bonds after davening. And hence the Hamish Kiddush. Judy and I received great personal satisfaction and lots of hearty yasher koachs for starting that innovation. And we thank Yale Ginsburg for rescuing us from personally sponsoring it by organizing the Hamish Kiddush group, which supports them in the Kiddush to this. That experience also got us involved with Kiddush setup for most Shabbos for a number of years. And that was a particularly fun thing to do. You know, there's some after Kiddush perks that you get as a result. So I would encourage everybody here to give it a try. I understand there are a few openings right now.
Stuart and I also have the privilege of serving as greeters for a 1-hour shift every few weeks. We highly recommend the gig to anyone who has the ability and temperament for it. Officers Eli and Justin work extremely hard to protect everyone in the county every day, and particularly to protect our shul every Shabbos and Yontif. In serving as a greeter, getting to know the officers a little bit has been a privilege. Plus, getting to watch the interactions of the shul's children as they play outside. And most of all, becoming more familiar with the whole range of people who come to our shul. Each week that I serve, I say to myself, virtually every single person at our shul is such a distinctive character. We are a whole shul full of characters, ourselves included. And I think it's the warmth and acceptance that we first noticed 26 years ago that continue to make our shul special. At root, I think we all have an implicit mutual agreement that we know we're all characters and we're all going to manage to coexist with each other's mishigas and with our differences, and maybe even, dare I say, love each other in spite of it all. That's what I think we found so appealing from the start, and it is what I think attracts, for an Orthodox shul, a pretty diverse group of people.
Another example of how a personal concern can produce something beneficial arose from my feeling, actually a lifelong one, that prayer ought to be a meaningful spiritual experience, but so often felt rote and uninspired. To the occasional Ruach Minyan, Baal Tefillah, or Drash, I would get a little bit of boost, but I really felt I needed some ongoing learning that would serve as a source of constant inspiration. As you've already heard after the passing of my parents, Aleichem Shalom, I approached Rabbi Rosenbaum with a proposal to start a meaningful tefillah project, and he was so eagerly enthusiastic. I've kept this going for 8 years because, honestly, I continue to have the need to reinvigorate my Emunah and refresh my tefillah. And with the help of Rabbi Rosenbaum, and with the support from others at Shomrai and KMS, and those who find the programs meaningful, I have found no shortage of ways to do so with him.
Speaking of the rabbi, our shul is so blessed to have Rabbi Rosenbaum as our Mara D'Atra. To begin with, he so warmly welcomes everyone who walks through the shul's door. He truly cherishes the way that each human being, each of us characters, is a unique creation of Hashem. When the rabbi talks Musar, instead of feeling chided for coming up short, Stuart and I find that his self-deprecating sense of humor breaks down our resistance and makes us feel inspired to work on ourselves on both prayer and deeds. His wide and deep Jewish knowledge is rivaled only by his emotional intelligence and deep well of empathy. Honestly, I can't even do him justice in words. Rabbi Pastanek, it was my privilege to serve on the most recent Assistant Rabbi Selection Committee during the thick of COVID with a very dedicated group that took the responsibility seriously. We had to weed through a lot of candidates, and we were only able to interview them on Zoom. I have to confess that, having only met you on Zoom, while I am very proud that we judged you to be head and shoulders above the pack, I had no idea that would turn out to be literally true.
It is not only our Ravin who represent the shul so well. YISE has been blessed with fantastic leadership and incredibly dedicated staff, including all our board members over the years, Gabayim and office staff, Simi, Josh, Sara, Esther, each one of whom deserves our ongoing gratitude for their hard work week after week, dealing with every issue that comes up and every complaint that gets lodged. I also want to add in the greeters, who are such a dedicated group of people who are such wonderful ways of helping protect the shul, and all the volunteers who do so much in the community and in the shul. For the banquet in particular, we owe gratitude to Yale Ginsburg, Bob Levy, and Tiana Mainzer and their entire committee, as well as to Craig Simon for agreeing to be tonight's MC. You've all been so kind and accommodating of us. I think it was for precisely such people that the phrase, "no good deed goes unpunished," was coined. We also want to take this opportunity to publicly thank our children, and here I'm going to get the front, and their spouses, for their patience with us and for their enthusiastic support of everything we do, including our involvement in the show. They are a fantastic group of young people, the four of them, and we are lucky to have a front row seat for the amazing show that is their life. And of course, we've been blessed with the role models that our parents, Aleichem Shalom, were for us, and that our siblings and their spouses have always been and continue to be.
Stuart, I'd like to say something about you too. Stuart has always set a great example for me and for our kids of having the courage to take the lead and get involved with community. I'm always the one to say, what if it doesn't work out? What if it's too much for us? Stuart is a person of faith in people and faith in Hashem, and he's always all in. He is the driving force behind our personal hospitality. He plunges right into things he believes in, like the Meaningful Tefillah Project, like everything he's done for the shul and community, like starting the Beacon, and he never looks back. He has always been 100% behind anything I've ever wanted to do. I'm so glad that our kids have followed in his path and have not hesitated to get involved in things that matter and have chosen life partners who do likewise.
Thank you. And that reminds me, where would I be without you? I would have suffered as a joyless tax lawyer were it not for the unflinching support you gave me when I decided to abruptly change careers midway through our first year of marriage. That took guts. Not only has Judy always been supportive of my work, she took on leading roles in the company whenever needed, making the Beacon truly a family business. In case you didn't know, she's now the president. At the same time, you have always been a subtle teacher of both me and the kids in the mystic art of empathy, something which I still struggle with, but I appreciate your attendance. Not to mention how she has made possible and beautiful all that hospitality she just gave me credit for.
Thank you. So here we still are in the shul full of distinctive, beloved characters, all these years after that rainy Shabbos in 1997. And I have no doubt this shul is exactly where Hashem wanted us to be.
In yesterday's Leighton, we read one of the Torah's most well-known lines, "Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham," and they shall make a sanctuary for me so that I may dwell among them. While that was no doubt a particular mitzvah for a particular time, we continue to understand it today as Hashem's promise to dwell among those who create a holy space for the Shekhinah. I believe any step each one of us takes to participate in Shomrai's mini minyanim and programs, yes, even kiddushes, and particularly to help out whenever way they can, boosts the holiness of this congregation and brings Hashem closer to all of us.
Many years ago, at a banquet where Kesher Israel honored our beloved friends Michael Alav Shalom and Edith Gelfand, when Edith spoke, she described herself as having perhaps disappointed her late mother by getting involved in Judaism, especially synagogue Judaism, which Edith said her mother disparagingly referred to as organized religion. Our involvement with Shomrai has often reminded me of the way Edith ended her speech. She looked upward and addressed her mother. "And don't worry, Mom," she said, "it's not so organized." Seriously, thank you all for providing us such a warm home to grow in, personally and spiritually, and for this lovely honor tonight. Thank you.
Now is the Simchas Torah auction. Tomorrow morning is Monday with 3 Aliyahs. Who would like to be the Kohen for tomorrow morning? No women, folks, sorry. All right, these were all beautiful speeches. Thank you so much. Downstairs, we will have dessert, followed by benching and Maariv up here at 9. Thank you all so much.